This is a perfect example of a trilogy. Good stories, good characters, and fun scenarios. But what would happen if it just went really, really, really downhill? Well, that's what happened to the Ice Age franchise.
Baby, you understand me now. If sometimes you see that I'm mad, don't you know no one alive can always be an angel? When everything goes wrong, you see some bad. But I'm just a soul who's
Has it been 20 years already? Alright, let's celebrate it.
Let's do it.
I'm a little bit off today, I cannot put my finger on it. Got up a little off today, just to play that same old song. I don't really want to try today, I see nothing in my reflection. I'm a little bit dry today, I feel like I could die today.
Hello, look at LTM reviews and get you caught up on the oldest movies. Welcome to the season finale, everybody. Sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird. It's because I'm catching a cold. But anyways, for the season finale, I'm going to talk about re-review every single Ice Age film, starting with Ice Age 1. Sorry. Now, Ice Age 1 had a very difficult production going into it. But first, before I talk about the production, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the franchise. I grew up with Ice Age. It was my childhood. I watched the first 3 movies a lot as a kid, just as much as I did the first 2 Shrek films. I played the video games, loved the second and third movie video game. I kind of stopped watching the movies after 5 came out, because 5 just, at that point, 5 was just kind of like, yeah, you know what, I got disinterested, and I never saw that one in theaters. Though I did see Buckwild, which I'm going to do a review of that one on this video as well. Alright, but anyways, I loved Ice Age. The first 3 movies were my childhood, and looking back at, now I'm here, I just rewatched all 6 of these movies, Buckwild. And now I'm going to review, and now I'm going to talk about my recent thoughts as an adult. Okay. Starting with Ice Age 1. Ice Age 1 had a very difficult production. Fox had a little faith in this movie. Originally, it was supposed to be Don Bluth to make this movie. Don Bluth, the same people that made The Land Before Time, Secret of NIMH, and Anastasia. But Don Bluth was tired after working on Titan AE, so he decided to give it to Chris Wedge, the founder of Blue Sky Studios, who worked on a short called Bunny, which was the company's first short film. Ice Age, I could kind of see how Fox had little faith in it, considering that it was kind of a rushed production. Ice Age started days after Fox Animation closed down their studio. So Ice Age, nobody had any faith in it, and nobody really knew how the film would have turned out. But to everyone's surprise, Ice Age became the 8th highest grossing film of 2002 and was well received by critics, and even got an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature. So now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the movie. So it's set many years ago. You got 3 main characters: Manny, voiced by Ray Romano; Sid, played by John Leguizamo; and Dennis Leary, Diego, played by Dennis Leary. Manny finds Sid, and Manny and Sid find a baby named Rojan, which has become like a big meme nowadays. Yeah, put your meme comments down below. They find the baby, but Diego and his pack, one of them was played by Jack Black, and the other guy played by, I forgot his name. This Diego tries to lead Manny and Sid into a trap so he can take the baby to the pack. Until Diego realizes that, maybe this group is more important than the pack and the baby itself. So, and that's kind of it. It's just the 3 men and a baby scenario, which it really works here. As an adult, I relate to this movie and I love the hell out of it. What I like about the first Ice Age is the main characters. You got Manny, who's the straight man, Sid is the goofball, and Diego as the badass. Basically a group where it's kind of a cliched buddy sort of scenario, but it really works here because the characters are so freaking likable and you love them so much. The characters really have great voice actors too. Like I said, you had Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Dennis Leary, Jack Black, Cedric the Entertainer. You got a big cast here. Sid can be kind of much at times, but there's some sort of charm to him. I don't know what it is. He knows he's one of the perfect examples of a goofball character. Manny's backstory is a really great backstory. I mean, even when you meet the guy, you're like, yeah, maybe he's just a grumpy character with no personality. No, once you watch the movie, you understand how much this mammoth goes through, and you understand the struggles that he went through with his family. And it's a really sad part, too. The movie has some great drama in it, too. It's got some really nice moments. It's got some really nice dramatic moments. And you feel like the voice actors are really trying with this movie. Because, like I said, it really feels like a big drama. Now let's talk about Scrat. Scrat is like basically the reason why everybody would go to these movies. And let me tell you, he's really funny in this movie, too. I actually really like some of his moments. Him trying to put this acorn and try to hibernate it is really funny, fun to watch. It's like Wile E. Coyote style comedy. It really works here. It's really nice to watch. The soundtrack for this movie is really good. I really like the song in the moments where they're going through the Ice Age, and it's like On My Way or something like that. It's a really nice tradition to the movie. I also really like the story. Yeah, the story is really weak. Yeah, it's not great, but it really, and to be fair, they try to execute it in the way where everybody can relate to. And as for the animation, it's fine for the time. It's a little dated now and kind of ugly, but for the time, for Blue Sky's first movie, this was pretty impressive for the time. So overall, I really like Ice Age, the first movie. It was funny, it's got great characters, great voice acting, and some good drama. The animation could be a little bit dated, but I'll give that a pass. Ice Age 1 gets a 9 out of 10. It's a very good masterpiece. I recommend it for anyone who loves good drama and good comedy. I recommend it for those who love animation because, like I said, this was during the time when when CG animation was starting to phase in and hand-drawn animation was starting to phase out because a lot of hand-drawn animated films were starting to bomb at the time. And I gotta give Ice Age credit for that. Okay, now that Ice Age 1 is out of the way, let's talk about Ice Age 2. This is LTM signing out, and I'll be right back.
Man urinates on fellow passenger for not being allowed to smoke.
Talk! Talk, damn it!
Alright, I don't think he's talking.
Bend him over. Bend him over.
Okay. Hello, welcome to LTM Reviews. Welcome back. We're now going to talk about Ice Age 2, The Meltdown. So, a little bit of history. Ice Age 1 was a critical and financial success, so of course, and while they did make robots after this, while robots was a success, it didn't bring in the numbers that Ice Age did. And the critical reaction was kind of mixed. So Blue Sky went back to the drawing board with Ice Age 2. And Ice Age 2, Manny, Sid, Diego are back, but there's kind of a dilemma. The ice is melting, and the herd is one to move. Herd decides to go. They have to move to this big giant boat where they would survive the flood. Well, Manny, there's a solid plot involving Manny thinking that he's the last mammoth, and ends up finding a girl named Ellie, played by Queen Latifah, and two possums, played by Sean William Scott and Drake Bell, or Josh Peck. Sorry, yeah, Drake and Josh. Comments down below. And it's up to all of them to find the herd so they can survive the flood, while also dealing with some crazy some really strange obstacles, like these birds that are singing "Food, Glorious Food," Sid meeting these mini sloths, and him being a king of being the fighter king. It's pretty crazy, but I kind of like it. Out of all the sequels in this movie, Ice Age 2 I love the most. I know it sounds crazy considering that at the time I always thought that 3 will get to the most, which we're going to get to that, but Ice Age 2 kind of grew on me just how really insane the movie is. Ice Age, what I like about Ice Age 2 was not just the main 3, but how much the main 3 have grown. Diego doesn't get really a big part until the very end, where he learns to be afraid of water, which I think that's kind of a cop out. But I think that, but at the same time, you kind of like the struggle that the characters go through. Manny's dilemma is a really good dilemma, and the relationship between him and Ellie is very, very nice. It's not forced, it's not stupid. It knows how to keep the characters flowing. There's even a nice backstory with Ellie, which, while I will admit, is kind of a cop-out to Manny's backstory in the first one. It does have some good drama here and there. And while I do prefer Manny's backstory over this one, the music that's playing during it, I think is better, because it's a really nice score. Sid's character, while he doesn't really have much of a purpose in this film, still has some funny moments. I mean, he's probably so far in these movies, he's starting to become my favorite comic relief character in these movies. Scrat is really good too. I think he's got some really funny moments, like the scene with the piranhas, which is one of the posters for the main, which I remember seeing as a kid. He's got a funny moment involving this bird. He's like, and at the very end, when you realize that he's probably the reason why why the meltdown kind of stopped, that was probably very funny. I really liked Scrat in this movie. I really like. Now the story is not really much, honestly. Like I said, it's just a bunch of characters trying to go somewhere, and it's really nothing new. So I do kind of find that kind of cliche. But at least the characters' moments and the characters' stories are actually pretty interesting. The animation is a much better improvement. I can safely say that. Still kind of dated in my eyes, but if I had to choose either this animation or the last animation, I would actually prefer this one. But then again, that's because technology-wise, this was back when Blue Sky was just now starting to make movies, and they were trying to find themselves as a studio. So, to be fair, at least the animation is a somewhat massive improvement. So, overall, I really enjoyed Ice Age 2 more than it's kind of hard for me to say if I like it better than the first one, because, like I said, the first one's such a freaking masterpiece. This one, I can safely say it's on par with the original, but it's not great. I mean, like I said, I think what kind of ruins it for me is the story, but at the same time, the animation, the characters, the humor, it's just got some good moments. So overall, I give Ice Age 2 a 8 out of 10. It's kind of hard for me to say if I like it better or if we're on par, but it's a pretty good movie, and I do recommend it for those who like the first movie. That's Ice Age 2. We'll get back with I will be right back with you guys to get around Ice Age 3. This is LTM signing out, and I'll be right back again. Hello, welcome to LTM Reviews to get you caught up on the oldest movies. Welcome back. Now we are going to talk about Ice Age 3. So Ice Age 2 was a massive hit at the box office, grossing more than $600 million at the box office. Critics were kind of mixed, because that's when they started to, you feel like that these movies were just made just to sell toys and make money at the box office. But it still got positive reviews from critics, and basically we had Horton Hears a Who, which was not as successful as Ice Age, but still was a better hit than Robots. And then we went back to another Ice Age film with Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. So, in this one, Manny, Sid, Diego, and Ellie are back. Ellie gets pregnant, and Manny's worried about being a father. Sid wants to be a parent, but ends up finding these baby dinosaurs, or dinosaur eggs, and basically tries to raise them on their own. And Diego is struggling about, I guess, being the fastest, I guess. They never explain it that well, or being brave or something. I don't know. They didn't explain it that well. But the mama dinosaur finds Sid and takes him back to the dinosaur world, and now it's up to our heroes to find Sid, along with coming across Buck, played by Simon Pegg, which we're going to get to him in a moment. So, when this movie came out, it made a buttload of money, and I mean, it was like the second highest grossing animated film at that time, behind Shrek 2, until Toy Story 3 and a few others came over time, but that's not the point. This was a monster hit when it came out. I remember seeing this film when it first came out in the theater. And Ice Age 2, I saw that one twice in the theater too. I forgot to mention that. So, I saw this movie when it came out. It made a lot of money. It was a big hit. I wanted to see it in 3D, but the theater we had didn't have 3D at the time, and that theater ended up shutting down a few years ago, but I'll talk about that another day. But Ice Age 3, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's strangely enough, it's not as good as the first two. I'm not going to say it's bad. Trust me, it's probably going to be the only, this will be the last good sequel we'll get from this series. 4, 5, and Buckwild well, we're going to get to those. But anyways, I do think it's a good movie, but not as good as the first two. But it's a good movie, but I don't rank, it's not the first two. I think the thing is that once this movie came out, it was kind of becoming clear that Ice Age was just starting to become that kind of franchise. Now, the movie wasn't hated, but I know it wasn't loved either. So I think that kind of turned some people off, because you could really tell at that point they should have just ended it off here, because this would have been a decent finale. But then again, that's just me. What I like about Ice Age 3 was the world building. I mean, the dinosaur world does look amazing. Like I said, the colors, the backgrounds, the animation itself is a massive improvement on the first two. Like, you can really tell Blue Sky really stepped up their game with this one. The animation looks phenomenal. Looks beautiful to look at. The characters are still fine for what they are. Though the character dynamics and the development for them is kind of weak. I think that's probably the problem with this, because the character like the stuff involving Manny and the stuff involving Sid and Diego, at that point they're adding just so many subplots, and there's just so much going on that you kind of get lost of where the movie was going. Which is not an awful thing. The characters are fine and the voice acting's still good, but you gotta just choose one or the other. I mean, there's way too much going on in this film. The story is just not much. Like I said, kind of like the second movie, the story is just really weak. It's not really much. Though what saved this movie was the animation, the scratch scenes, which I know this sounds crazy, but in my opinion, this has some of the funniest scratch scenes in any Ice Age film. Because he's going against this girl Scrat, and basically they're fighting over this nut, which is freaking funny as hell, and I love it so much. And basically the soundtrack is really, really solid. And let's get to the main biggest thing, and that's Buckwild, played by Simon Pegg. This guy is hilarious. I love him in this movie. He is like the best part of this entire movie. He's the reason why I kept watching it. Buckwild has the funniest energy. The character is great. I love his personality. I like his backstory involving this one dinosaur, Rudy. That is a really nice scene, by the way. The backstory between him and Rudy. Everything about Buckwild was just amazing in this film. Like I said, everything, like the story and the characters are not really much. They're not awful. They're just kind of weak compared to the first two. It's much weaker. But at least the animation, the soundtrack, and Buckwild, and some of the action scenes and the soundtrack do save it. Overall, I don't hate this movie. I actually think it's a very solid contender to the Ice Age franchise. It's just not as good as the first two, and maybe not as good as I remembered it, because I remember this being my favorite Ice Age sequel. Though number 2 is we're going to probably stick to that. So, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's great, but I do recommend it. If you just want to stop watching the Ice Age films, I recommend at least stopping here. Because, like I said, I know I'm going to spoil a little bit, which I probably already did. But it's probably long gone from here, because after this movie, it starts to becoming crap. So, overall, Ice Age 3 gets a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie. It's not as good as the first two, but it's still pretty solid for what it is. Alright. So yeah, after this is where the madness begins. This is LTM signing out, and I'll be right back.
I slam my penis in the car door.
You slam your penis in the car door.
Come on.
Spider-Man?
Hello, look at LTM reviews to get you caught up on the oldest movies. Ice Age 4 Continental Drift. So, of course, 3 was a big hit, so they were like, hey, let's make another one. We don't have to put any effort into it. And that's when Continental Drift was born. So in this one, you know, Ellie and Manny, they have a daughter named Peaches. Peaches wants to go into the big kid crowd, but Manny's too overprotective to let her go hang out with friends. Sid has to watch over her granny or something like that. Diego, and over time in this movie, finds a love interest. God, these movies are so hard to explain, but basically the main plot is Scrat ends up ruining this continental drift, and all the world is turning into flood, and now our heroes get separated from the group once again, and now they have to go back to save now they have to go against these pirates, which, to be fair, we're going to get to that. And then that's basically it. There is so much going on in this freaking movie. So yeah, as you could tell, I didn't hate this movie. I kind of find it to be kind of meh, to be honest. But this was the start. This was the actual start when you realize, yeah, it's becoming clear that these movies are running out of steam. What I don't like about Continental Drift was just how all over the place it is. I mean, I told you about the main stuff about Scrat and him causing the world to fall apart and stuff, but you had stuff about Manny dealing with her and her daughter Peaches. You had Sid trying to watch her granny, and then you had Diego finding a love interest, and then you have these pirates that come out of nowhere. And you got Ellie and Peaches bonding together. It's all over the place. It's very all over the place. Stick to one or the other. You can't. If one or two subplots is fine, but you gotta stick with the story, pal. This is the point where I'm like, yeah, they're running out of steam. Like I said, the characters are starting to lose their charm. Sid is kind of annoying, and okay, he's not too annoying. That's when 5 comes around, but you could tell that the story really didn't need him in this. And Diego, same thing. The characters their dynamics are starting to get even weaker the more these movies came around, and you can really tell. The story makes no sense except for the fact that Scrat caused everything. There are a couple good things though. Number one, the animation, as always, looks phenomenal. The biggest saving grace is not only the soundtrack and the animation, but the villain. I mean, I will say, the villain's motivation sucks. We all know he has no purpose, but he's voiced by Peter Dinklage, and he's probably the only good thing in this movie. And his group of misfits. I mean, yeah, there's no purpose to him, but they're probably the only good thing in it. So, overall, I did not like this movie. I didn't hate it, but it really did not need to exist. And at that point, you're like, yeah, Ice Age is running out of steam. So, overall, I know this is kind of a shorter one, but there's nothing much to say about Continental Drift. It's just a mediocre waste of time. Though, believe it or not, this movie actually made money at the box office. And I saw this movie when it came out and actually really enjoyed it. But looking back as an adult, not that good. So, I give Ice Age 4 a 5 out of 10. It's not awful, not the worst, but it's just a waste of time. Don't go watch this unless you really want to finish the Ice Age films. Alright, now that that's over with, let's get to the big one. Next up, we have Ice Age Collision Course. This is LTM signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary SpongeBob.
Oh my goodness! Squidward!
Yeah?
Pizza time.
Wow, thanks. I've been dying for one of these. Where's my drink? My drink? My diet Dr. Kelp?
Sorry.
How am I supposed to eat this pizza without my drink?
Hello, welcome to LT. Welcome back, guys. We are now talking about Ice Age Collision Course, the 5th film in the Ice Age series. Fan-freaking-tastic. So back when I did the reviews, I always thought that 5 wasn't as bad as 4. God, was I wrong. Watching this again, it's a lot worse than I remember it. I don't know why, because I was just so nice to this film. But to be looking back at the history and everything like that, this movie kind of disappointed me a lot. So in Ice Age 5, Scrat once again causes the world to go badly, because so far in these movies, the only reason why the gang almost gets killed is because of Scrat. And in this one, he causes the world, and it turns out that he's the one that created the solar system. But then these meteors start going down to Earth, and now the gang and the herd have to protect each other, while also dealing with their crazy subplots, including Manny dealing with her daughter getting married to this one mammoth played by Julian played by Adam Devine, Sid wanting to find a love interest, which he does, played by, forgot her name, Diego, and Jennifer Lopez. His love interest wanted to have kids. Crash and Eddie just being themselves, and then Buck. Hey, Buck is back, so I guess that's one good thing. But most of them are trying to survive the meteor, while Buck does have a plan of how he can stop the meteor and bring it back up to space. But we'll have to see how that turns out. And they also meet the Shanghai Llama, which I forgot the guy who plays him. Gosh, there is so much going on in these movies. So I did not like this one, obviously. I'm kind of glad I skipped this one in theaters, because I've heard so many bad things about it when it first came out. So there's that. What I did not like about Ice Age 5 was just how all over the place it is. It's trying way too hard to make you feel like, oh, so this is going on, this is going on. There's just so many things going on at once, and too many characters to care about. Way too many things go on in this movie, and too many things happen. You need to try to limit your characters and limit your stories, because at this point, the more you do that, the more you just keep adding things for no reason. Let's talk about the humor, because the humor is not only bad, it's kind of confusing. Because the thing is, well, here's the thing about this movie. Before I talk about the humor, here's the thing. In a strange way, this movie could have actually worked. Because I could see this at a studio where there was a writer, and the writer says, okay, this is going to sound crazy and kind of sound inconsistent, but we're going to try to make this movie as good as I can. We're going to make it fun, safe, and kind of educational, because, you know, we could teach the kids and families about volcanoes, meteors, the solar system. This could have been a really funny, charming, entertaining movie. But then it's like the studio brought in another writer, and then the other writer says, what do the kids like nowadays? You know, because in this movie, we get words like hashtag, ninjas, and one of Julian the Mammoth says, instead of I do, he says, totally deaf, or certain, totally man, or something like that. Just that modern things that the kids are now saying. Something that the parents don't give a shit about. Now, I understand that in this universe, the animals talk, and they speak English. We need to let the kids, because if the animals didn't talk, the kids wouldn't understand what the animals are saying. But then you get these confusing jokes, like for example, Sid is on a date, and then the sloth says, "You look nothing like you were in your profile picture." Okay, if this was something like the Flintstones or the dinosaur sitcom from the 90s, you probably know what I'm talking about. Where they add like a gag where, there's an iPad, like a rock iPad. If they added like a rock iPad or some sort of, or even a rock computer or something, or just some sort of joke that you would see in something like Flintstones or the dinosaur sitcom, it would have actually worked. But when you say stuff like that, I don't even know what the hell they're referring to. Like, is there technology in this world? Is there like a weird is there like a weird world where it's animals doing human-y things? It doesn't make any sense half of the time. The humor's not only unfunny, it's confusing. The characters are really annoying for the most part. I mean, I will say this, and this is kind of Buck, Sid, Ellie, they have their moments. I mean, there's some like I said, there's some funny people playing these characters. John Leguizamo, Simon Pegg, Wanda Sykes, Queen Latifah. They have their funny moments. But then you have Dennis Leary and Ray Romano don't look like they're having fun in this movie. Even Sean William Scott and Josh Peck, they don't even care. So yeah, the voice acting is fine, but you can really tell the actors are trying to lose their steam, and the humor just wasn't funny. The characters are really annoying. The story's all freaking all over the place. The animation's fine. I mean, it's kind of the same as last time, but maybe a little bit more polished. And what the hell am I supposed to say? That's it. So overall, Ice Age 5, not the worst film ever made, but definitely one of the worst in the series, or probably the worst Blue Sky film. Now, this movie didn't bomb, per se. It still made money, but it did bomb in the USA, in the US, making only $68 million worldwide on a $100 million budget. So, it's kind of a bomb, but kind of underperformed, but I can't really necessarily call it a hit either. So, it was kind of in the middle on this one. So the movie made money, but not as much money as the past movies. 2, 3, and 4 made more money than this film. So overall, Ice Age 5 is not a good movie. If you really want to finish the Ice Age films, go right ahead. But for me, I say give it a skip. Overall score, 4 out of 10. Probably the worst Ice Age film I've seen so far. And now that we got all 5 movies out of the way, I want to do an added bonus. I'm going to talk about the recent Buckwild spinoff. This is LTM signing out, and I'll be right back.
First, some nitroglycerine. A goodly amount of gunpowder. Some uranium-238. Shake well. Strike an ordinary match. Girls, you'd better hold on to your boyfriends. Swallow the match. So.
Hello, everybody. This is the spin-off to the Ice Age franchise, The Adventures of Buckwild, the movie that just came out rather recently. So, sorry, I'm just trying to cuddle up because I'm cold. Let's talk about Buckwild. So, a little bit of history. Ice Age 5 was released, did not do nearly as well as the other movies. A few years later, Blue Sky, Disney bought Fox, and Blue Sky ended up shutting down because Disney and Pixar don't even care about Blue Sky. So, instead, Disney was like, hey, we can make movies too. We can make another Ice Age film without Blue Sky. So what? So we got this movie. Everybody was pissed, and even myself was mad that the fact that Buckwild was made by Disney and not by Blue Sky. It's really confusing too, considering that Blue Sky shut down, and I don't know how or what happened there. So now that we got this movie, so. A little bit. Also, the voice actors in this film, like John Leguizamo, Ray Romano, Queen Latifah, Dennis Leary, they're not in this movie. Just want to let that out, because that's what also pissed me off about this movie. So, everybody's back. The movie stars Crash and Eddie, and basically they said all they want to do is live the life of adventure. They want to move on and find a new home, and they end up deciding to go live with Buckwild. But Buckwild ends up in this very bad situation where these dinosaurs are ruling over the place, and now it's up to Buckwild, Crash, and Eddie to stop them. While also the other main characters, which for some reason they're in this film, decide to go look for Crash and Eddie. So, I'll give it this. It's not as bad as Collision Course. But, buddy, that's not saying a whole lot. That's like comparing That's like saying that the Grinch isn't quite as bad as the Cat in the Hat. I actually do like the Grinch though. But anyways, you get my point. What I did not like about Buckwild was the animation. It looks ugly. It's awful. It has some of the worst animation in the entire series. I don't know why Disney decided to go ahead and make this. I mean, I understand they're trying to experiment properties, but for some reason, you got to understand, you can't just go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm going to make a movie out of your franchise." That's not how it works. You can't do that. It's not right. The animation looks ugly. Some of the character models look stiff, and some of the movements look kind of cheap. The characters, like I said, they're not made by their voice actors, and they have no purpose in this freaking film at all. Though to give the movies credit, Ray Romano's replacement as Manny is not bad, and Sid's voice, the guy who plays him, is trying, but you can really tell these voice actors had no little experience in their voice acting. The characters, like I said, not very well put together. They had no purpose in this film. Crash and Eddie are very annoying in this film. I don't know who voiced them, but they were the worst part of this movie. We don't need a movie about Crash and Eddie. I never hated Crash and Eddie, but why do we need a movie on them? Now, to be fair, there are a couple good things. Simon Pegg is bad. It's probably the only voice actor that came back in this movie as Buckwild, and he's got his moments, but much like the fifth movie, he really can have his bad moments at times. And to be honest, I would have liked it better if it was just Buckwild. We do have new main characters, but they're bland and forgettable, and I really don't care about them. The animation, which as bad as it is, at least it was a fine effort. They at least tried to make it look like the world of Ice Age. But you could tell that this movie, I'm kind of glad this movie wasn't on the big screen, because I would have been really pissed if it was. So, overall, I can't reveal too much about Buckwild, because let's just say, number one, the movie sucks. Number two, I don't want to go into spoilers. But Buckwild is not as bad as Collision Course, but it was still a waste of time. Overall score, 4.5 out of 10. Simon Pegg is back, and he's fine, and I guess some of the voice actors are trying, but the animation, the story, the fact that Crash and Eddie are the stars is what makes this movie insufferable. So there's that. Now, before I end this video off, I just want to say, Ice Age was a big part of my childhood. They're the reason I made this video, kind of like Shrek. Ice Age was more than just a franchise. It was a money-making powerhouse for so many people. And say what you want about 4, 5, and Buckwild. We all know it went downhill from once Continental Drift for Dawn of the Dinosaurs, whatever you feel your taste. But these movies are childhood to me. And without these movies, I wouldn't be able to like who I am today. So, I know Blue Sky shut down not too many years ago. And I hate that Disney made a very dick move to do that, but at the same time, at least all I could say to Blue Sky is, thank you. Thank you for making the Ice Age trilogy. You really put up my childhood. You made my life feel super happy, and I appreciate it, Blue Sky. Thank you for everything that you've done. Alright, guys. That was the Ice Age franchise. And now, this has been the season finale of Season 7. If y'all got any questions, comment below, let me know. Any upcoming movies you want me to review, I'd be happy to do it. But let's just say, for the next season, we're going to television. This is LTM signing out, and I'll see you guys. I wonder who that could be.
Greetings, LTM.
Peace.